Good morning, everyone. Beautiful day. As you can probably see by my hat and my shirt, we've partnered up with Flashark Racing. They've sent us some nice stuff. I did a short a few weeks back. We're actually going to get down to the whole unboxing and install, show the ease of install and the overall fit and finish once it's done. So, first up, no, we have a sticker. Kidding. We have their cold air intake system here. These are clearly your rubber couplers, elbow off the throttle body to the pipe. Assuming this connects it to the mass air meter. And of course, got a nice filter with a lot of surface area to pick up some flow. And then of course, we've got our aluminum intake pipe, various attachment points, nice and lightweight. The all important instructions, we laugh and say, oh, we don't need those, but I usually do skim over them. So, oh yeah, plenty of pictures. I like pictures. And this actually has a heat shield. These are the rubber seals to seal this to the engine bay once you assemble it. So, pretty nice and overall well thought out for it being a budget kit. That'll be a nice addition. Get all the old stuff off and we'll get to installing this. Then I have what we're going to actually get to right away first. This is a set of their long tube headers. They make a couple different sets. I wanted these when they offered them to me in particular. Because I am not a fan of slip fit and band clamps and all that. These actually have a flange to them to seal up. So that is quite nice. And these actually have your stuff for your air injection and EGR, so you can stay emissions legal. Some clamps. I'm assuming those are for the Y pipe. So there's a nice ball and socket style flange that goes on the header with your dummy cap to remain emissions compliant. That would be off the passenger side header of that pipe by the looks of it. This is going to be your driver's side clearly. It's going to go on, come down and around under the transmission. Got some hardware for said connections. Like Christmas. And then there's the driver's side. Looks like they were trying to keep a fairly equal length here with some of the tubes. And then this is the final piece of the Y pipe. Got your O2 bung. Yep. I'm going to say it goes like so. Passenger side feeds into this. This comes and meets the driver's side. So, nice stainless steel. Just dropping some dimes when they were welding this up. looks pretty good overall. Without further ado, we're going to jump into it, and we're going to install it on this truck up here. Swing you around. This is my 2000 GMT Sierra regular cab short bed. It's a factory 4.8 truck. It now, however, has a 6-liter in it, LQ4 XR275 comp cam. I've cheated a little bit. I've got the transmission out of it right now because it's being rebuilt. All the exhaust is off already, and the transmission's out of the way. However, we're not going to be able to hear it when we're done, obviously, but it's going to be nice because you'll get a real bird's eye view of how everything fits. I'll be able to actually take you and bring you right up in here and show you to the frame, to the steering shaft, things like that, what kind of clearance we have. So that'll be nice. Usually you don't see that. And I have the advantage of the lift. Could you do this on the back, on your back, with a floor jack and jack stands in your driveway? Absolutely. But again, I have the luxury of this 4-post drive-on lift, and we're going to take advantage of that. So hang in there, and we're going to get to work. All right, so did some test fitting. Got my driver's side header in. I had to disconnect that steering shaft, that clamp that holds it together, 15mm bolt. One of these ratcheting wrenches will make quick work of it. That got it to slide right in from the bottom. Something of concern. It is resting pretty much right on the rubber boot of the steering shaft. So I would say this is going to have to be heat sleeved and maybe wrap this header tube. The other thing I'm looking at here is, here's my plug wire. Yeah. So I got MSD wires on this, so I can bend them and all, but I'm seated on the coil with it bent away, and as you can see, I'm laying right on the header tube. So that would have to be heat sleeved as well, which we've got them on here already previously, but I don't like the idea of that laying on there. Now we can take it back off, maybe roll it down through here in between the tubes. Might be a little bit better. Hopefully I'm not making y'all seasick bumping this around. It's a little hard doing this one-handed and holding the camera, but yeah, again, see my coil wire, it's awfully close right there to that tube. So oops, maybe give it a little speed dent, and the obligatory heat wrap, heat sleeve, whatever you want to talk about, but that's pretty much right on it. So that's the number 5 on the driver's side here. 1, 3, 5, 7. The rest look like a nice straight clear path down to the plug wire, or the spark plug rather. So only this one is the one that would be giving me troubles. So all right, we're gonna move on to the passenger side. I've test fit that one. I'm having a little bit of a snafu with the frame rail, and before anybody says, oh well, you know, you got old wore out motor mounts, I do not. Those are maybe 2 years old, and those are actually brand new GM. They're not a cheap replacement. So that was a nice GM with the heat shield and all. All right, I'm gonna bring you back in when we have the passenger side figured out and show you what was required for that. So I've got my passenger side slid in from the bottom, no issues there. But you can see there's a little gap between the cylinder head, because, hard to see there, I'll take you underneath and show you. That one tube on the outside is resting on the frame rail. I'm gonna have to give it a little dent That'll let it pull over and pull the cylinder head. As far as plug wire clearance, everything on this side looked great when I had it held up in there. And once we remedy that, that side should seat right tight up against there and not give us any more problems. But I'm going to go underneath, prop it back up in place, and show you exactly where it's hitting. Alright, hopefully you can see right there where that header tube is resting right on the frame rail. And I've pretty much got the flange right up against the head. It just won't let it roll this way towards the frame rail. So I'm going to mark that, give it a little speed demp. Before anybody freaks out and says I'm going to hurt the flow, refer to Engine Masters, where Freiberger and Dulcich beat the crap out of a set of headers on a fairly healthy small block Chevrolet, and I think they're able to only kill, what, 8-10 horsepower by completely flattening some of the tubes. So this is just going to get a little massage to make it fit. Okay, before I go bringing the hammer out, I wanted to show you something I noticed. Obviously they knew they needed some clearance here. I don't know if it'll focus or show up on camera very well, but there's a little flat already right here. But I think I'm hitting more up in here, as you can see where it rubs some of the wax coating on the frame in and out. So along this area, I'm going to go ahead and just give it a little bit of clearance. I'll test fit it a few times until I got ample clearance, and we'll bolt it up and move on to the Y pipe. So rather than go beating these with the hammer, I noticed this gap in here. And when you look at these, sorry, again, one-handed, not trying to make you guys seasick. You look, kind of see how that tube sticks out more than this one right here. Oops. Prop it up there. Yeah. You can see it kind of, that's basically what I'm hitting on. So rather than beat it with the hammer, if you don't have a shop press, I recommend you buying one. It's good for jobs like this, and as well as pressing bearings on and off. So we're gonna try it in the press here and see what that does, and hammer and a dolly will probably be the last resort. But stay tuned for that. So we've made a few adjustments. As you can see, that tube's nice and actually flush. Did that with the old shop press. However, as you can see by my marks here, this area, not on the flat, on the inside curve here is what's touching the frame now. It's so close, but I'm gonna have to give it some love taps right along in there, and then it should seal up the rest of the way against the cylinder head. We'll be good. Okay, so we're back after much trial and error. They are in. Despite getting that tube down there moved over, yeah, I had to apply some heat to it and massage it. Give it a little, several love taps, not a little, several. I'm gonna drop down and show you underneath, and I noticed something on the driver's side too that's gonna be an issue. Gonna be transparent here. Good. Looks like my plug wires are gonna have plenty of clearance and access. That's not an issue, so that's good. They nailed that. All right, let's take a look underneath real quick. So here's a look underneath. As you can see, first glance, looks pretty good. A little close to the heat shield here. That stud was interfering. I had to chop it off. It was about that length prior. And if the camera will focus, you can see despite all that clearancing I did, it's still pretty much resting right on the frame. I thought, well, the driver's side's better, you know, other than that issue with the boot up there on the steering column. And yeah, it's pretty much right on the frame here. I may be able to move this over side to side by wrapping a ratchet strap around it and pulling them in, but once they're all tightened down. But that's something I think the manufacturer needs to adjust maybe. And they have the flange turned like this, hit the floor. This should have been rotated a little bit. This one's not an issue, but this side I would have preferred it to be turned where it's flat rather than rotated that way where it can contact the floor. So we're going to move on to the install of the Y pipe and wrap things up from there. Alright, so we've embarked on the Y pipe install. I've pre-installed the studs on this one. Got this pipe started. Continuing on, so one of the things included in the kit, got a donut that sits in here, and then it seats on this flange right here. Let me see if I can make it to where it's a little bit more visible right here. Sits like that. This goes on. Now this flange they made to where it would rotate, which is quite nice. You got all these multiple O2 bungs. You got your pre and post. So and I dropped the donut. Kind of getting everything on here loose so we can adjust it around and finagle it, I guess. This piece goes like so. To here, maybe swing it down a little. That helps me. Yeah, it seems like my pipe here is slightly out of round, is why it's giving me a hard time. We will get it though, we're persistent. There it is. Just like that. We need to swing this into place to meet this pipe. Yeah, running into the same issue. That one, I think they've got their tolerance is so tight on these that they're a little bit of a challenge to get connected. There we go. Oh, almost. Just got to get the angle of your dangle right, and it will go in. getting a little warm here in Florida today. It's April, so I guess it was, there we go. It's April, so it's bound to get warm sooner or later. Like that, we make our adjustment. Everything's nice and level. We'll go ahead and stop right here and tighten everything down and go from there. So these are the style of clamps they give you for these joints. I already put the other one on. Figured I'd save this one. Goes on like so. You hear that ratcheting? It's because it's got these nuts with the serration on the back side, so they bite in real good and don't back off. Like that, we tighten it all up. I'm going to not tighten this because unfortunately I don't have my torque converter back yet from being refreshed, restalled. I had a lapse of judgment and wasn't paying attention. I sent it to the wrong address. I sent it to a different one than I had agreed to with the vendor. He got it sorted out. He said he'll have it back to me as soon as he can. My fault. I gotta wait a little longer as a result. But hoping this week we're gonna get a hold of that. We'll get the transmission all back in. I can finalize, tighten that up. Of course, I need to, like I said, make the adjustment on these, try and pull these away from the frame. I think that's doable. And we'll go ahead and put it all back together, and then I've got to finish putting the exhaust back together. And we'll give you a sound clip of all that at that point in time for the payoff. But for right now, that's that. I'm gonna stop, pause right here, and we'll come back to this and I'll give you my overall impression. So overall impression, there's a lot of features I like. The flanges are really nice and thick. The actual material the tubes are built from seem to be a pretty good gauge stainless. Things I don't like, I addressed this header tube, I think it was number 5 on the driver's side. That needs some adjustment and some attention for plug wire clearance. Both of them, the tubes need to come in this way more towards the center, and there is adjustability in the Y pipe for that to pull them in off of the frame rails. And again, this has got fairly new engine mounts. This truck isn't raced, abused. It's mainly just kind of a cruiser. So I know the mounts aren't shot on this thing. You can clearly see they're still like new. Also, they didn't give me hardware to mount them. I'll link that below. I usually buy Dorman replacement bolts. You can get that through my Amazon affiliate link. Like I said, it'll be linked in the description for those. This low mileage crate engine in this truck, so the original exhaust manifold bolts come right out. Didn't strip any threads, didn't break. I was able to put them back in to attach them, but some fasteners would be nice if they could throw them in. Not a deal killer, but my overall thing is the amount of massaging I had to do to the one tube on this passenger side header to get it to fit. If you are not equipped in your home shop and not willing to do what I did to make them fit, these are probably not for you. If you are willing to do the work, they're a pretty decent budget set of headers. Just need to address that header tube for spark plug wire clearance and for the steering column boot so it doesn't just burn a hole through that. I may give that a little clearance as well, and heat wrap that tube, and then also heat tape the steering column boot so it doesn't cook that. But I think if they made a few slight adjustments, nothing major, you can get them to work. And I like how they have that ball and socket flange with the donut to seal. I really despise, a lot of them send you where the Y pipe just slides over the header tube and they muffler clamp them on, and then you play hell getting them back off. So the Speed Engineering headers I put on my personal truck, I welded V-band flanges to them because I was not about to run muffler clamps where the pipe slid over. That's just a no for me. But stay tuned for part 2 of this. We're going to jump into that momentarily, and we're going to install the cold air intake and place the stock air box. Okay, after a quick lunch break, we're back. Moving on to part 2 of this. 05 GMC 4-wheel drive. It's got the L3353HO aluminum. We're going to be installing the Flashark cold air intake on it. First, I've got to get all this out of the way. So let's go ahead and do that. And so with the magic of editing, everything's out of the way. Didn't take that long, but didn't want to bore you to tears. My main weapon of choice was this here for all the hose clamps. Everything else was pretty self-explanatory, pretty simple. All right, we're gonna get to work here and set you up on the tripod. And I'm gonna go ahead and assemble everything and get it going. All right, so first things first, per the instructions, the short side of this coupler is going to go on the throttle body, and we're not going to tighten it all the way because we're going to probably need to spin it around a little bit to maneuver it. That's on. Get another clamp kind of ready in the position here. Just like so, just so we have one ready. Yeah, we are gonna follow the instructions. So we're beyond all this. We're now moving on over to here. So they want us to assemble the heat shield assembly, and then the intake tube goes on last, of course. So let's grab that stuff and get to work with that. This is all pretty self-explanatory. Clearly, this is the one that the filter is going to pass through. So, black and white photo, so it's a little hard for me to see. But okay, like so, and drops down into here. So, in the interest of time, I'm going to go ahead and pre-assemble this, and then we'll drop it back in as a whole unit. Alright, so we've got our box pre-assembled, bolted down in here. I've assembled this deal. This is the adapter for the air meter. It gets clamped to the filter. Went ahead and put this one on the pipe. Got this clamp shrunk down to about where we need to be, where it still slides on and off. I'm just going to dissect the MAF off of the stock stuff, and we'll be ready to put it together and put it in, and I can start this up and we'll hear the difference in sound it provides. Alright, next, time to slide this pipe in. and drop the clamp while you're at it. Somehow I always manage to drop something. Slide it through like so. Yep, yep. Grab the clamp. There we go. Seat it into this. Now there's a bracket down here that we're going to need a bolt and washer for that they provided. Right here. That's what's going to hold this and keep it from flopping around everywhere. I'm going to leave this just finger tight for right now while we manipulate everything, and we'll tighten it all up at the end because we've still got to get our filter and mass air meter down in here. Actually, you know what? That clamp doesn't go there. That's my fault. That's for down here at this end. Easy fix. Like so. Okay. So that's kind of all that loosely in there. Now we got our filter assembly. You saw I had the adapter clamped on. You're going to reuse your original mass air meter, obviously, and the original clamp and hose that held it to the factory air box. Now you want to make sure you can see that's that side. The side with the screen is facing the filter because of that right there, flow. Pretty simple, but hey, mistakes happen. Now we're going to use this clamp. This assembly is going to go down into the fender. Clamp where I can reach it. Like so. Try and get the clamp over the silicone hose first. Just like that. Get our .5/16 spin tight, I call them. Some people call them other stuff, I don't know. But I've always referred to them that. You can also, the way the head on these is done, use a Phillips head screwdriver as well to make this clamping connection. But I prefer these. Okay, once we're sure that's not going anywhere, go ahead and adjust this, tighten these. Got our plug for the mass air meter. Needs to go back in. Actually need to loosen this up and rotate this assembly a little bit. That was what do they call that? Rookie mistake? Yeah. That has plenty of room to come over here and plug back in now. Good to go. It's not pulling on the wires. That rubber here is going to protect it actually. Now we'll make this connection here as well. Let's see if I can just
rotate this a little so that we'll seat in our bracket. I like to try and even these clamps up as much as I can. Aesthetics, you know, partially. I don't want them looking all crooked and goofy, but also so it'll clamp evenly and not pop off. This is why I have a couple different lengths of these. I should have. And I still can loosen this a little so I can rotate this clamp to where I can actually access it and tighten it. Let's see if the longer one works better. Now that I've rotated, it does. So far so good. I'm gonna just tighten that nut and washer and down there that holds it to the heat shield assembly so it's not flopping around in the breeze. Again, another spin tight. I want to say it was either 3/8 or 7/16. That's definitely the 7/16. Now there is a slot in this rubber piece here. Like the bracket may have got a little bent in shipping. I'm gonna have to pull on it a little to get it to line up. I'm gonna go ahead and shut the camera off while I do that so you don't have to see me aboard the struggle bus. And then we'll go for our payoff. Alright, so that's all nice and tight. Doesn't move too much, just enough to torque with the engine. Pretty easy install. It's very self-explanatory. You're going to need the 5/16 and 7/16 spin tights, a Phillips screwdriver, and a 10mm for these bolts. Focus right down there that held the original pan that the airbox sat on. It's like a metal tray. So we remove that. It's going to pull nice cool air from down underneath, hits that inner fender panel, pushes it up behind the headlight. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start this for the first time. Make sure we have no engine lights. And no check engine light. If I did, it would be right in this area. Of course, you can hear the wonderful exhaust leak. You can see I got a broken bolt there in the front. I'll be addressing that eventually. It's typical of these, especially this was a northern truck. Everything seems nice and happy. It runs as smooth as it always did. I'm going to set you up here on the tripod and just snap the throttle a couple of times. probably got plenty of wonderful exhaust leak. Put you down here by the tailpipe. So this truck's pretty stock. I think that's off an Escalator Denali, that tip on the end. And if you look back to the older videos, the stock muffler was falling apart. I put a stock Ford muffler off a friend's 2015 F-150 5-liter truck. He put a MagnaFlow on and he gave me that one. So I like free. I'm gonna go ahead and leave you here and give it a couple more revs. So that is that. Let me know what you think. Basic little upgrade for an old truck. It's very stock. It's leveled 33s, re-geared to 410 front and rear. Actually has a 9.5-inch ring gear 14-bolt semi-floater conversion in it, with the rear disc brakes. So HP tuned. As far as speedometer, nothing engine tune's been touch wise. That's pretty much it for that. Again, give me your input and thoughts on all this. Remember my code for a discount. I know the headers kind of need some adjusting and some work, but don't judge all their products based on that. Obviously this Cold Air fit pretty good, was decent for the value, for the price that you pay. I will link their website below along with my code to get 15% off, and I'll link their website direct so you can check out their other wares and see what else they got. They don't just have stuff for these trucks, they got them for everything. So you may find that you've got some other vehicles in your stable that could benefit from some of what they have. As always, thanks for watching. I appreciate you, and we'll see you next time.